few more council members show up. Well, we just lost one, didn't we? We did have 5 here.
Yeah, we got them.
Okay. All right, so, well, first of all, I guess I need, motion on the minutes.
So move, sir.
Second.
All right, and then, and we do have, here's my agenda that I'm looking for. We have a couple of, ARP agency presentations this afternoon, that Chief Freeman has lined up for us. We appreciate that. Chief, after this, about how many more do we have that get us through the?
We still have quite a few.
Okay,
I will
okay.
defer to our grants team, Chelsea and Shelby. Do y'all know after today how many more presentations we may have?
Oh, she's counting on her fingers. Hope she don't have to take off her shoes.
3 to 5.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, perfect, good, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So,
we'll push them through it.
so at this time, I'm just gonna turn it over to the chief and, let him work through, we have 4 today. Let him work through these 4.
Okay, so we want to kick things off today with a presentation from Chattanooga 2.0. I think we've got their executive director, Carrie Randolph, and and Jennifer Andrews also here. And so their award amount was $500,000 for the Quality Matters Fund. And with that, if, Carrie, if you and Jennifer want to come up. Yeah, you're welcome to come right on up here, and I can.
I'm just going to introduce the expert, Jennifer. Thank you all for the opportunity to talk about this important work, and we're excited to share what we've been able to learn and do. Thank you for the investment.
I've got the final report that I'm going to share around with all of you all as well to look at, because it's got some good pictures. Thank you. Where do you want me to present from? Okay, so my name is Jennifer Andrews. I'm a director of early childhood strategies for Chattanooga 2.0, and we are a birth to career collective impact in Hamilton County. Backbone team helping to make sure all children have access to quality education and career opportunities. I get to work with the people who serve the littles of Chattanooga, and we applied for $500,000 in ARPA funds to bolster the child care system. And you will see in the report that childcare really matters to the parents and grandparents of Chattanooga and Hamilton County because they need childcare so that they can go to work. About 70% of our kids have both parents in the workforce. And so that's what we did with the money. And the Quality Matters Fund, our intention was to support the childcare teachers because at the time that we applied, teachers were leaving the childcare workforce in droves, and we wanted to spur retention. And so for Chattanooga 2.0, we have 3 big bets: early childhood literacy and viable pathways. And so this ties into our early childhood work, which is led through an action team of community organizations, 40 to be exact. And they kind of do work collaboratively under the umbrella of Early Matters. If you would go to the next slide for me, thank you. So the first program that we did with the Quality Matters Fund was called Tuition Assistance. And we offered up to $2,500 in tuition assistance for child care teachers in Hamilton County. And I say Hamilton County because child care is so limited for our residents that they may live or work in the city or out of the county, and they kind of swap. And so we allowed that for all of Hamilton County child care teachers. We ended up having, and I'll just usually click over. There's some animations here. We had 65 teachers that were supported through tuition assistance. We had 135 classes that we funded. And the real goal with providing tuition assistance is that we didn't want to just give, $150 to the 1,400 childcare teachers that we have in the county. We wanted to connect them to a sustainable wage increase, and one of the only ways to do that in our state currently is through something called the Tennessee wages. And if you are working in the same child care provider for at least 6 months and you attain higher education, you qualify for a twice annual salary supplement. And so it starts at $600 and it goes up to $7,800. And so by connecting child care teachers through higher education, we're able to get them on a sustainable wage increase path. So excited that 22% of the teachers we supported were able to get on that wages pay scale or move up. And then got some other stats for you there. We were also hoping to just motivate them in their job, increase job satisfaction, so they were less likely to leave. Because what we were finding is that child care providers have open classrooms with no teachers to teach the students, so they were having to have diminished total enrollment there. And that did that for child care teachers. Another thing we were able to fund through the Quality Matters Fund was a substitute toolkit. So these are open source lesson plans. We did a lot of focus groups and surveying of child care teachers and found that there is, just like in K-12, there is not a pool of substitutes that a teacher can just call and fill in for them. There's no industry standard for paid time off or health benefits, and so a teacher is kind of stuck and unable to care for their own needs, which makes them unable to care for the children in their classrooms. So we created these substitute lesson plan toolkits that were written by local teachers, and they are complete lessons that a teacher can take off the shelf and hand to a substitute if they have access to one, and say, here, I'm going to go take care of myself, take some time off. These are free and open source to now any teacher in the country, and they're available online, and we also printed copies of those, and they're being delivered this week and next week to child care providers in Hamilton County. One copy to every one of the 220 child care providers in the county. And we also, if you click one more time.
Is that to limit disruption?
Sorry, what?
Limit disruption, is that the intent?
Disruption of?
Their learning process?
Right, so unlike K-12, child care doesn't have state standards that they have to follow, but there are early learning standards. And so rather than a teacher kind of just, while play is really important for kids in the child care classroom, it's more so that there is just something planned for the children for the week, versus teachers were reporting that they would spend up to 5 hours planning for a lesson and then it wouldn't be followed in the classroom. And they said, I'm just not even going to take a day off because it's not worth my time to prepare for being out of the classroom. So, and then we also talked to some administrators who said that when they had been subs in college, this would have been really helpful for them, and teachers are generally really excited to have it. Another thing that we funded was dedicated substitutes. So these were, because as I said, substitute pool does not exist, we funded dedicated child care staff for 6 different centers. We awarded it to 10, and we're only able to recruit staff for 6 of the centers. But it was one person for up to 30 hours a week who would fill in for those teachers when they needed to take a day off. And on the days when all staff were present, that teacher served to lower the ratio in the classroom, which is something that parents greatly appreciated. And it's also good for the kids because rather than having 6 adults or 6 children per 1 adult, you maybe only have 3 or 4 kids per 1 adult, which is it's better for their early brain development. So a very popular and successful program that we did, if you click, we awarded it again to 6 different agencies and supported a total of 61 teachers who were able to take off time when they needed to. And 75% of the centers reported 0 turnover as opposed to the previous 12 months when they didn't have a dedicated substitute. And one of the quotes from the teachers is that when they needed to be off from work to address their own health or personal needs, the sub was able to fill in for teacher absences and relieve some stress. And the other thing that directors shared with us in the evaluation is that the financial assistance that having that staff was greatly appreciated because they're small centers who work on a 1% margin. They might only employ five people or 20 people, and so it made them more likely to allow teachers to take off the time off that they were requesting. Okay, the next thing we funded was unique workforce training. So there were 4 programs, unique training things that we funded. The first was 2 cohorts of STEAM fellows at the Creative Discovery Museum. So this was, STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. And at the Creative Discovery Museum, I think most of you know what that is. Hopefully you've been there and seen how fun it is for kids, but it's also teaching them those imperative STEM concepts in early childhood. And it's teaching teachers how to teach STEM to young children. And so each month they come into the Creative Discovery Museum, they learn about a STEM concept, and then they take that back to their classroom, implement it, and they have a cohort that they come back and share their experiences with. And they also feature a parent night where the kids of the children that child care teacher teaches would come to the classroom and see what they've learned. It was very successful in retaining teachers, and they also earned 624 CEUs. So all child care in a licensed center are required to attain continuing education credits to keep their licensure, and so this was able to provide those to the teachers. The next 2 cohorts that we did were through the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Those were Wolf Trap teaching artist classroom residencies, which basically means these artists come for a job-embedded training, and they, alongside the classroom teacher, teach them how to incorporate the arts while they're teaching young children math and literacy concepts, which is super cool. The children absolutely adored it. I have a video and I'm going to show you at the end. But it's also, it gave teachers renewed energy in the classroom, new skills that they could teach, and made them feel excited about teaching again. And specifically, one of the pre-K teachers said they work for a Hamilton County Schools pre-K and said that it's a very rigid structure and they don't necessarily have some of these concepts incorporated into the classroom, and they were excited to learn how they can bring and see the children's faces come alive. And so one teacher said that, you know, it had been really, they had a child who was a really hard nut to crack, and that this working through kind of the drama and the singing and the arts was something that really brought them out of their shell. We also did a workshop at UTC called Calm in the Chaos, because in this post-pandemic world, if y'all think about the age of the children who were born at the beginning of the pandemic and they're getting ready to go into kindergarten, teachers were saying, we're seeing a lot of very challenging behaviors in the classroom. Can you please help us help the children? And so we hosted a workshop in partnership with UTC called Calm in the Chaos, where teachers learned tips on how to de-escalate children who have experienced trauma, play and behavior, and how you can address and redirect behaviors through play, and how to support challenging behaviors. And so it's something that teachers asked for, and our post-training evaluation showed that teachers were thankful for it and want to see more of that in the future. And then the 4th one was a professional development conference in October through the statewide early childhood organization called TACY. And then let's see, I think that's it. And this is a video of the Wolf Trap teaching artist.
Oops, sorry.
This is the good part.
So that was Jackie Heathington with Mimi's Academy, which is a home child care provider in 37406 in Councilman Hester's District 5. And so that's just one example of a teaching artist going in and working with the teacher for some tactics there. And the last slide is just the results of the Quality Matters Fund presentation. We ended up having 271 teachers who participated in one of the Quality Matters Fund funded programs, which equated to 20% of the early childhood workforce in Hamilton County. From 62 different child care agencies, 71% of the people who participated, because we put priority when they applied, served children who were economically disadvantaged, English language learners, or children with disabilities. And then every single one of the child care providers in Hamilton County received one of those substitute lesson plan toolkits. So recommendations moving forward for the Quality Matters Fund include continuing tuition assistance, because it did prove to be a way to provide a sustainable wage increase for child care teachers. Albeit small, it does give them that kind of hope and motivation to continue, and the confidence to continue education when they thought maybe college wasn't for them. Another recommendation is to continue the unique workforce opportunities, because unlike K-12, there aren't as many for child care teachers when they're really helping get kids set up for that foundation of future learning and success. And so we want to keep the good teachers in the early childhood field as much as we can. And then the third recommendation is support for child care small businesses. The financial impact of funding for those dedicated substitutes at the small providers was one of the largest impacts, and while it helped them to keep their doors open, but also helped them to retain their staff. And then substitute pools would greatly help, and it's something that we've talked to the city's Office of Early Learning about as well. Carrie, did I forget anything?
No, I mean, I think one of the learnings I had is my kid is older now, and thankfully I'm beyond childcare, which is a huge challenge. We have classrooms, we have parents who show up every day to drop their kids off, and they can't be cared for because there's a teacher missing. Like, that's how tight the labor market is, and so I think, to Jennifer's point, like, we're thinking hard about how we increase the workforce here, but also we make it sustainable and supportive for them moving forward. Because it's necessary both for them, but it's necessary for our local workforce, because people need childcare to be able to work. And then we want our kids to be kindergarten ready. We know this is a huge part of that. Thank you.
Any questions, Councilman Hester?
I'll say this, I think it's very important that we address this early for our children and everybody. Anybody know me, I'm very passionate about this, because there's a pipeline from school to prison. If we don't nip it and address it right away, then we're gonna build these prison beds. But I say this, just want all our kids to be prepared day one when they do enter into the Hamilton County school system. Right, I notice you guys doing a lot of innovative things as far as reaching our kids. I pray you continue to do that, to grab their attention, open their imaginations and all that stuff, but continue doing the good work. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Next up, we would like to introduce someone who has been here before, Martina Guilfoyle, Executive Director of Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, to give us an update on the Lyerly Street housing development. And so here we go. Hi, Martina.
Good afternoon, council. You probably think I'm the bad penny that won't go away. You hear I'm leaving and I'm still here. Actually, February 28th is my last day.
I'm happy.
But I can say that we've hired a really great replacement. I feel really confident and excited that somebody so capable is going to be joining the team and taking over C&E. So I know in March he'll probably set up meetings with each one of you to get to know you and hear your priorities and aspirations for housing and C&E in the future. So I won't belabor it. We were just in front of council. You all know we got this the Jack Kemp ULI Award for this work that we're doing, and this is just an extension of our missing middle work. It's 82 units of housing in Milltown and in Highland Park. The first project that's underway is 32 units in Highland Park, directly across the street from the big church. 3 buildings, so it's 2 10-plexes and 1 12-plex, so a brand new prototype that we're putting up. And I'm really excited. I think they're gonna be every project. In fact, we're just going to occupancy on MLK, 24 units. that we got a pilot for from the council. And those are just starting to be leased now, so really excited. And I thought, well, this is our best project, and if anybody wants to go through it, I'll happily take you through it. It's an incredible project, but this, I think, is gonna be our best project to date. Yet another new prototype, and that'll open up in September. And then the 16 units on Lyerly. Now both, interestingly, on Bailey and Lyerly, if we went back and looked at the before pictures, substandard, dilapidated housing stood on both of those properties. And so we were able to negotiate on Bailey with the private property owner who basically had operated slum housing. There weren't people living there when we got the properties. Tore that down and was able to build this using ARPA dollars and a lot of other layered financing like home funds and foundation dollars. And Lyerly was also adjacent to Milltown. Again, dilapidated, boarded up housing that had sat in that neighborhood for years, and was able to negotiate with the property owners and able to buy that. And so that's 32 units, which is a new product, a 3-bedroom duplex, 2 of those, and a 10-plex and a 4-plex. So excited about that project, and that'll be opening this spring. And then the as you all know, every project in Chattanooga, especially doing affordable housing, just takes so much longer than you ever think it will. And this one got held up because of environmental contaminants on the property. And so we've had to do cleanup, and then we were ready to close and found out that one of the lots that actually the city had donated to C&E, along with the county, had more even though we had had it tested, the EPA was out there and found more contaminants, so we've had to separate out that project. They're cleaning it up at their expense, so we're doing 2 phases. But this project, our phase 1, should close this week, and we'll have 22 units under construction within the next few weeks. But this is the Milltown, to remind you, this was the vision of Ethan Collier in Milltown, who really wanted to develop mixed income housing in his neighborhood. And I think in the community, folks have said it's never gonna happen. Where are the affordable units? And unfortunately, as I just mentioned, it's taken us a while to be able to bring it to fruition, but we are there. It will be affordable. Half of the units will be affordable through the ARPA dollars, and we got a pilot and home funds, and so there actually will be within that development, if folks have driven through there, folks that are making as little as probably $35,000 living in that neighborhood. So really excited. Again, would not have happened without the investment of ARPA dollars.
So is that 50, basically 50%?
50 of the 84 units.
No, I meant 50% AMI.
Well, some are 50, some are 60, and some are 80. Yeah. Oh, and then, so here, just, I'm sorry, the picture, this is what's going up, and that's the rendering of what it should look like. That's the 10-plex on Bailey. That's the 12-plex. I'm really excited about that project. There's really nice, with the balconies to give the walkability and street presence, as all of our projects.
Affordable don't have to look affordable, right?
The great thing about C&E's units is you can go through and whether it's an affordable or whether it's a market rate, it doesn't matter. We just, every unit is the same, built to the same standard. And that's the duplex I was talking about, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
I get stuck at the light at Bailey and Willow a lot, and I watch them do progress, and they're going. They look.
It's
great.
gone up fast.
They look great though.
They go up fast, but then it's the inside work that takes so much time.
Yeah.
So that's it. Questions
Questions?
What's on deck for 2025?
for C&E?
Yeah.
Well, we have C&E Homes, I think is the most exciting thing happening. It's our manufactured off-site housing that we're prototyping, and hopefully we're gonna get to market with some 2-2s and 3-2s that no one can beat the price, and deliver housing that's affordable without subsidy. That's our goal. So we have very capable project manager in our midst here. So we're very excited about that.
Good, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Prototype starts the 2nd or the 3rd of February.
So we'll be having I don't call it a grand opening, but what are we calling it? A come and see and kick the tires and see what we're doing. The first couple weeks of March, and then we hope to have it on site. We'll be placing it on, we own a piece of property on Bailey Avenue, and that'll be where the prototype is first in May, yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Martina.
And council, thank you for all your support over my 12 years at
Thank you,
C&E.
thank you.
I
Appreciate
so appreciate it. It's been such a pleasure to work and do this work in Chattanooga, and it's an incredible place to work, and I've enjoyed my time here.
Thank you for.
And if I wasn't so old, I would stick around, but you never know. Thank you.
Thank you, Martina.
All right, next up, we've got our friends from Richmont Graduate University. Doing their project was fellowships to mental health professionals, and the award amount was $200,000. You can, please, yeah.
We have
wanna-
couple, so I don't
Okay.
mind standing.
Yeah,
It's all right.
yeah. You want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Stephanie Keene, and this is Dr. Jama White. We both work in clinical training at Richmont Graduate University. I'm currently the Assistant Clinical Training Director for Richmont, and specifically work on the Chattanooga campus. We have a very small little campus that's very homey and very intimate. We love to be able to get to know our students very personally, and seeing them struggle and trying to be able to make it, especially through internship year, is definitely something that pulls at my heartstrings. So this has been a really incredible opportunity. We're so grateful for the generosity that we've been shown and been able to extend to our students as well. So we'll tell you a little bit about the different components that existed that we used the money that we were awarded for.
We're a small counseling training program just up the road at Orchard Knob and Macaulay. And our original institution was started in 1933. Steve might not have ever heard of us, however, we're in combination with a school in Atlanta. Richmont has we have a separate campus in Atlanta and an online campus. And so we, when we asked for this grant, we were excited because this is in line with the mission that we have to train counselors and serve the public, and especially serving the underserved. And so we were glad to be able to receive partnership with you guys, from you guys, to augment that. And so we had three avenues in which we were using the money that was allocated to us to help some incoming students, to help some students that are in their clinical internship year and they're interning around the city, doing basically offering counseling services as a part of their training at no cost. And then we have one of our graduates, Devontae Duff, who's going to come up in just a minute, who's a graduate. He's working at Chat Prep, and we wanted to make sure that he made it all the way to the licensure process because of the work that he's doing. So those three arms of what we were doing. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about each of those in depth, but we appreciate you guys' investment in these students and their just helping them to be able to offer counseling services to the community.
To give some context to what an intern actually is, basically in a counseling graduate program, the average is that you spend about 3 years. Your first 2 years are really focused on content courses and trying to be able to gain the skills, whereas your last year is really focused on internship and actually being able to serve people within the community and have extensive supervision given to you, so that way you're actually effective in working with clients. The goal was to be able to have interns who received the grant money was to be able to work with underserved populations specifically, and then also utilize evidence-based interventions. We aim to be able to promote the use of dialectical behavioral therapy due to its extensive evidence-based background. So overall, each different intern that received this award got $5,000 to be able to assist in expenses during their internship year. Most of the time, interns aren't able to work while they're in internship year, and you don't receive any sort of compensation typically when you're an intern. Typically, you are having to just kind of figure it out and pinch pennies drastically. We had some really just grateful students when they were able to manage life a little bit better because they were awarded some of this grant money. And it also opened opportunities for them to work at places and locations that serve specifically underserved populations. So the total amount of hours that these interns actually were able to complete are over 6,500 direct service hours. So these direct service hours, each hour is when an intern is specifically sitting with a client. There's many more hours on top of that happens outside of just the counseling session that interns have to be able to accomplish in order to get well-rounded training. However, that's the bread and butter is really being able to sit with clients and get that real on-the-ground experience to know how to be the best counselor possible. So we were able to award, over a course of 2 years, 16 interns the first year, 13 interns the second year, this $5,000 award, and 100% of those interns have now graduated. So they were able to actually make it successfully to graduation without having to spend an ample amount of extra time enrolled within schools, so that way they can actually get to work and serve the community members. And then currently, the stats that we have from all of those that have graduated, at least 86% of them are working at sites right now within our community that serve underserved populations, marginalized populations.
Chief, back up one slide just a minute. So you've got 155,000 support to interns.
Mhm.
But you gave 29 $5,000 each, which is only 145,000. Am I missing something?
It may be that we had, I think in the second year, we wanted to have 15 interns, and we only got 13 that qualified for the program. So I think that second year, they probably got a little bit more than 5 to use the full allocation of the money that was given. I think they allocated it a little bit differently. I believe that's what happened. Does that?
So it could have been a little more than 5,000. You basically
Second-
served 29 interns with 155,000.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, Chairman, did you see a correlation in, I guess, their grades, if you will, by having that assistance versus, well, having to pick up a supplemental income or something, going through college, I worked a lot and it suffered. It showed. But have you been able to track their performance in the?
It's difficult because the grades that you receive in your internship year are typically pass-fail because there's specific benchmarks that you have to hit. The main benchmark that I'm able to see is people actually graduating on time.
Okay.
That's the main benchmark that we can assess, because an internship year, you're not really doing classes,
Sure.
to be honest with you. You're just trying to be able to focus on collecting hours and getting face-to-face time with clients, getting face-to-face time with your supervisors to then receive helpful feedback to then perform better. So I was able to see a really great pattern and improved in terms of people being able to graduate on time and be ready to actually enter the workforce. Because there's many different situations in which I have seen people have to slow down their process because they're just not financially able to afford to keep
No, I
going
get it,
forward.
sure.
Yeah.
So that would be, I guess, the impact you would see.
It's
That's
actual
fantastic.
on-time graduation.
That's fantastic. Okay, thank you for that.
Of course.
Yeah.
These are some of the different employment sites that people are currently working at. So these graduates are able to now work towards licensure at these different sites. To give a little bit of background about some of these, Partnership for Families, if you're not familiar, specifically serves families, children, and survivors of domestic violence. So they're obviously the people who seek services at Partnership are underserved and typically marginalized populations. So being able to get practicing clinicians to serve those populations is really important to us. We want to make sure that people in our community are actually getting the help that they need. Park Ridge Valley for Children and Adolescents, and also the adult location, we have current graduates at both locations. And both of these locations, if you're not familiar, are inpatient psych typically. So they're focused on serving people who are experiencing any sort of heightened mental health symptoms that would cause them to not be able to fully function well within the community, to receive some supplemental support. Journey Mental Health, there's a couple different private practices that are identified here. Journey Mental Health, Chattanooga DBT, and a focused treatment center. All three of those do aim at specifically promoting DBT practices. However, so dialectical behavioral therapy is the evidence-based treatment modality I had mentioned previously. Those three locations really promote the use of DBT and CBT, which is correlated with DBT. And then these other locations, you're also able to utilize DBT modalities as well. Focus Treatment Center specifically aims at treating both eating disorders and addiction issues. And then looking at Chattanooga DBT as well, they aim at trying to be able to serve populations that specifically struggle with borderline personality disorder. And again, when you have we also had interns at these locations while they were in their internship year versus now graduated. So while they were there, they were providing very low cost or free services to people that would attend these different locations. Any questions about those locations, by the way?
Park Ridge Valley site, is that in East Brainerd?
Yeah, I get confused. I'm new to Chattanooga, not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
So I'm still learning my locations around here.
It is,
But
okay,
yes,
thank you.
they're at different locations, though. The
Yes.
child and adolescent and then the adult unit are at different locations completely.
I have a question, beyond this grant, but I think about how useful a very small amount of money can be to a person who is in a training program, that gap coverage, so I can see how that $5,000 is really useful. But I think it's interesting that it's understood within this industry that you're gonna have to work for a year for free, and you have to figure it out. And I wonder from you, how much longer is that sustainable? And I mean, so if people are getting low cost I mean, even if they were somehow being paid $10 a session, you know, where are
It's not
you guys
sustainable.
thinking about that? Because, you know, this is one-time money, but it's going to be an ongoing need. So where's your head at on that?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm seeing the impact about that right now with our current interns that don't have easy access to grant money currently. So I'm seeing this new group of interns. So this talked about the first year we dispersed money in the second year, and all of those people have graduated at this point. So the new incoming cohort wasn't able to receive any sort of additional grant funded awards. There might be some that they were able to secure on their own, but it is a really difficult process. We really do promote the use of meeting with our financial aid coordinator to every student. My personal goal is I try to talk to every intern and encourage them, please meet with our financial aid support, because they are able to help you find different grants that maybe I wouldn't know about, or a little nook and cranny that might really fit for you well. But I see it really being a struggle to be sustainable, to continue to promote having available mental health counselors, especially working with underserved populations.
So what's the starting income for these students once they're
It can
out of their?
range pretty drastically, to be completely honest, and it's not that uncommon that a lot of times first starting out, recent graduates will actually work part-time in the field and then have to work part-time in a different field to be able to supplement their income. But it can range drastically. If someone's working full-time, I typically would see something between maybe 40 and 60,000 with a graduate degree. That's probably the most consistent. I might be overshooting with that 60, to be honest with you.
And what is the training cost? What is the 3-year program cost?
Oh, I'm so bad with remembering off the top of my head, Jamie, can you remind me?
I'd say it's probably more than 60, honestly.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, their student loans are available for people,
Yes.
and some students elongate their program so that they can work. You know, they'll slow it down. That was what she was talking about, on-time graduation. Sometimes people slow it down so that they have a little bit more margin, so that their last year when they're doing this internship, they're actually working also, because they stacked all their courses at the beginning. So that's another way that people manage it. Different people have different ways that they sort of cobble together the solutions.
Thank you.
But, you know, you're hitting on something that's, you know, a challenge for sure. So thank you.
I sit with more interns than I can possibly count, trying to manage tears and just stress of trying to be able to make it through the internship year due to financial distress and concerns.
Okay, thank you.
And speaking of, this is a quote from one of the recipients that we heard multiple times. I don't necessarily want to read to y'all, but I would definitely invite you to be able to see how it really did impact them. Also, this group of interns specifically were just coming out of how they were impacted with COVID and having their program completely shifted. And trying to learn counseling online when you expected to be able to do it in person is a hard shift in your brain to be able to make. So they were dealing with a lot of different stressors on top of what you normally deal with as a graduate student in a counseling program. There was significant gratitude, and we are more than grateful. I'm gonna pass it off to Dr. White.
We also want to speak about our bridge scholarships, which is what we did for the students that were just coming in. So we have an existing scholarship funded by alumni where we're scholarshiping minority students to enter the program, because we know that research shows that if you can be in counseling with a person of your ethnic minority, you're just going to have a better counseling outcome. So we want to foster as much diversity in our student body as we can. And especially on our campus, we haven't been as successful at that as we have on the Atlanta campus. And so we were really happy to receive some of the ARPA funds and put them towards that. So there's 2 students that received bridge scholarships because of the ARPA funds, and were able to get a good start in the program. They got, I think, $10,000 and $5,000 each semester last year. So, $10,000 for each student last year. And so we really can't say too much specifically. I don't even know who these students are myself, it's confidential, but they're 2 minority students working. They're working already they're doing some side employment while they're not in internship yet. And they're both working with some underserved populations. One's working with sex trafficking, another working with children in some underserved areas. Just while they're working on the side, they're wanting to specialize in child and adolescent, one of them, and the other wanting to specialize in trauma and addictions. And the criteria for the scholarships that we're hoping that they're going to be working with underserved populations after graduation. So you help to give them a good start in the program and get them well-grounded and sort of off to the races in the program, and so they are super grateful for that as well. So I also want to introduce the third part of this grant was supporting this gentleman right here. This is Devontae Duff. He works at Chat Prep and has been working. Did you intern over there in a while? Or
I did.
Yeah, he interned over there and then was able to stay with them, and the grant sort of helped support his endeavors, because we wanted to see him make it all the way to licensure. And there's the year after you graduate before you get licensed. So Devontae, tell him what you're doing at Chat Prep. Thanks.
Yes. Really quickly before I go into that, just to kind of speak to some of the internships or the interns in that last year, I will say it is very tough. That is the point where you're focused on graduation, but sometimes outside factors such as finances have a really big impact. She mentioned that a lot of students are at risk of extending that time or extending that graduation date just because they can't afford it. I was a student that I didn't necessarily have the luxury of being able to stop working or just commit to school full time. And so I definitely seen a little bit of that in my time there as well, having to work as well as kind of do double duty in a sense. So working as well as doing free volunteer hours as well. And that is a very big stressor just in itself, being able to pay bills, thinking about, am I going to be able to maintain my own basic needs while I try to go out and give services to other people who are struggling is a really big thing. So I do, just on behalf of them and other students, I am very sure that they are very appreciative of these funds. In terms of myself, I had the opportunity to intern at Chattanooga Preparatory School during the pandemic. And so that was a very interesting year to try to navigate in a school system with therapy, I think across the board for everybody. But for us there, we got to see kind of firsthand some of the effects of that pandemic that was going on. And so from there, we finished up. And I actually didn't plan to start working. That wasn't a part of that internship process. We just luckily had a supervisor there who actually was also a Richmond grad, and he was transitioning into something different, and he felt like this could be a good opportunity. And so when that came into play, and Richmond got some of the funding from you guys, and we got to talk about what support they could give me, it was literally one of the best things that could have happened. And I say that wholeheartedly. I really love being placed there. I really love the work that I've been able to do there. And that is largely because of you guys. That grant money has come to help me with supervision fees, which luckily I'm almost done, not quite. I'm hoping to get finished up with licensure here over the next few months, definitely by the end of the year. And I think I have until about June to utilize some of the grant funding. The way mine happens is more of like a reimbursement process, but even that has been such a huge benefit to just me and my well-being and being able to put more of my time and energy into serving the students there at Chat Prep. The students there, just for a little bit of background, are typically mostly minority students. I want to say it's about 60, or the old stats, they may have changed or shifted a little bit this year, but they're about 50 to 60% African American, about 20 to 30, maybe 35% Hispanic, and then the remainder would be other. And so in that community, I get to serve a lot of families. And I say that because I see the students, but there's still that family dynamic where I'm meeting with parents and I'm able to share resources with them, or to able to connect them with Richmont so that they can get services, or so that they can pursue some type of community resource while also treating their children. And then there's a ripple effect that I also get to see. The school is 6th through 12th grade, and so it is a really wide range. And with that comes a really, really wide range of issues and concerns. But when it all boils down, we all have things that we're going through. And so in this role, I get to meet them where they are. And a lot of them, or many of the students and many of the families that attend the school have no history of mental health treatment, or they have a very outdated outlook on mental health, or they're just afraid because of things that have been said. And so I get the opportunity to try to put that in a new light and to shed that we all can benefit from those mental health experiences, and just seeing someone to talk through what could be helpful. So you guys have been very, very instrumental in my doing that. And I'm hoping that as I finish up this process and become licensed, that we can continue a connection with Richmont, where we have interns coming in, and then they're able to kind of continue that journey or the work there on campus as well.
And that is a significant goal as to why we wanted to make sure Devontae had access to those funds. I did also want to add the importance of why we decided to be able to have those bridge scholarships and try to be able to promote Devontae towards licensure, is because research specifically has found in multiple different studies that the more similar in terms of ethnicity that a client is with their counselor, the counseling outcomes, statistically significant, will shoot up. It is an incredible difference to be able to find that. So we want to try and promote more minority population student counselors.
There's definitely a need for it.
Yes.
Any questions, Councilman?
Let me say this, thank you for what you do. I'm really grateful to your institution, because when I was getting my master's, I was at your institution doing all my research, so thank you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than happy. We have a public library that's down in the bottom floor.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next up we have the Urban League. They were the recipient of 2 awards under the ARPA program, one for the Family Prosperity Initiative, $1 million, and one for capital investment into the new Urban League office building, which was around $500,000. And so, let me see, are we still expecting Candy to join virtually? Okay.
I am on.
I hear her.
Oh, there she is. All right, hey Candy, let's see here.
So sad I couldn't be there in person with you all. We had school cancellation today. I think I have somebody to blame for that.
Okay.
For freezing temperatures, the governor here, you may not know, I moved to Georgia to transition Chattanooga here.
Tell her, hold on one second.
Hey,
Issued a state of emergency.
Candy, hold on 1 second. We're just kind of trying to see if we can get you to come through, your voice to come through the speakers.
Okay.
Candy, will you just introduce yourself for a second so we can test the microphone?
Okay.
Oh, okay. There. Hold on one second. Oh, that was real loud.
Yep, we're here.
Okay. All
Sounds
right.
like it's really good IT people.
Yes. Okay, I think we're ready to roll. Thank you, Candy.
Beth.
Sorry about that.
All right, so I was saying, I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I was there yesterday all day for the MLK Day event that we hosted for our youth. And I wanted to stay overnight, but somebody had tickets to the National College Football Championship. So I didn't stay overnight, unfortunately, but then school got canceled today with the state of emergency that the governor here in Georgia issued, the freezing temperatures. So that's why I'm here, but I do have our fabulous team that's there in person, and they will be a part of the presentation as well. I first want to say I'm truly grateful for the city council and the leadership of the city for the depth of thought that was put into monitoring and supporting. I think it was phenomenal to hire a consultant. Shelby and Chelsea have been amazing resources when we have questions. It's just been a great experience. And so I just want to give hats off to you because I know that those decisions have to be made by the city council with funding, but also the team that's left to lead the day-to-day and answer all of our phone calls and help us with these reports and help us with the upload. So I just commend you all for getting a process in place and having a great system. Yes, it had some tweaks in the beginning, but I think you all ended up with a great system for the participants. So I want to say that. You all already know our mission. You can go ahead and flip through the slide, or do I need to flip the slides? I don't think I have access to the slides. Okay, thank you. So as your team mentioned, part of our funding was for the building, and so I don't have a presentation on that, but we owe about $600,000 on a $3.8 million investment, and in part, you all supported that. And just know that that's a legacy initiative because the Urban League didn't own the space. We were renting for 25 plus years, and so that puts us in a better position to put money back into the programs and services that we offer when we don't have that capital debt. So I truly appreciate that. In addition, the Family Prosperity Initiative, as you know, with any pilot, you have this concept, if it's something that you haven't tried before. We've had components of it, but we had a vision, and it largely stemmed from my time working for the city. Jermaine will remember this when we were doing the economic mobility work, and we had surveyed the community. Some city council members were there at that time and had participated. Carol Burrs, prayers, and sorry for her loss as well. Councilwoman Coonrod, it was several people that were a part of the city then. We had did this study and we said, you know, what are these factors stalling mobility in Chattanooga? Well, neighborhood segregation, lack of access to opportunity and success, and then intergenerational poverty. So I left the city in, was it 2021, maybe December 2020. I had all this information and research and things that the council has supported looking at upward economic mobility. And I came to the Urban League and I said, wow, we're an economic empowerment organization, but we're not necessarily operating in that way. And so what we developed was, and you can go to the next slide, 3 empowerment centers. And I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to work for the city and to work alongside some of the elected officials, because it really helped me shape the thinking around how the Urban League could better serve the community, specifically communities of color, even though our programs are generally open to all people who are low income and that meet those program descriptions. But when you think about the way we do our work, we do it through 3 empowerment centers. The grant funding that we received really was focused on the Center for the Education and Workforce body of work. But through these 3 empowerment centers, we deliver dozens of programs that help lift people out of poverty, it helps shapes the mindset, and helps improve the quality of life. Next slide. So we really looked at, and this is you should already have received this if you're on our newsletter, and if you're not, please do sign up for our newsletter. This was our past fiscal year. We served 10,748 individuals. 1,600 of those were youth education programs. A large number of that is our VITAL program, which the city also supports through our contract that we have for economic development. So that's great as well. And then entrepreneurship, and then leadership and civic engagement are some of the areas outside of workforce that we support. So that was for this specific fiscal year. We can go to the next one. So going back to my time at the city, another initiative that we embarked on was creating a data centered report that helps us to understand disparities, because that's why the Urban League exists. The Urban League was founded in 1982 really to, I say, level the playing field and really provide that economic self-reliance, parity, power, and civil rights. But I didn't know where we really were outside of some of the reports that the city had completed that were very specific to whether it be housing or whether it be, economic mobility. So I say, let's put together a report that can help us look at what does that look like for Black-white equality in Chattanooga, to further inform how we would invest some of our resources through our 3 empowerment centers. So what we found, and this is our second report, it is online as well, is that we had a 61% parity score. So if you think of parity equality, are we equal as far as outcomes in education, in employment, those sort of things. So that's broken down into education, which makes up 30% of the score, health 25%, and economics, which is a large part of that as well. We don't have time to go over the whole report because our team still needs to present, but if you'll flip through, I'll go over these pretty quickly because you could read the report, and some of you may already have read the report. But when you think about the economic component, which ties to why we ended up doing the Family Prosperity Initiative, you will see that the rate at which Black residents in Hamilton County experience the economic well-being of white residents is 58%. So that's less than our overall parity score. And when I said that report is made up of several different categories, the score, the equity score, employment issues are built within economics, income, housing, and poverty. So if you go to the next slide, we'll break that down a little more. Now this is for the county, so the city is less, but the median household income, you'll see the gross disparity there. We really tracked that in 2022 to the types of jobs that Black workers were heavily concentrated in, which was manufacturing, which was the top one. I think education was another one. And so you think about the earnings potential. Yes, those are great jobs, but when you talk about median household income, you can see how some of the jobs that, the fields that Black workers tend to enter in, there's less earning potential there. All right, the next slide. Public assistance. So we found in Hamilton County, about 22.5% were receiving food stamp benefits, and then about 4.1% cash public assistance benefits. You can see what that is for the other demographics in our community as well. Next slide. So that takes us to, well, why did we apply for ARPA? Why did we build 3 empowerment centers? And why did we rebuild workforce? Because workforce was typically, when I came to the Urban League, it was hiring fair. Well, it wasn't hiring fair. It was a job fair where you had a lot of vendors set up. We didn't know if they were hiring or not. They were there, and it felt like, to me, people were coming and they were leaving hopeless because they weren't offered a job or they didn't, land an interview. And so we started rethinking how we do workforce. And we said, we're going to take a holistic approach. We're not just going to look at having a job fair and connecting someone to the job, because we realized that if we didn't invest in the education and training and social and emotional well-being of these participants, the retention rate will be low, because we've seen that they weren't going to be able to fully show up and be those great employees. So we started tackling that really in a deeper way once we got the ARPA grant, and Unum came alongside to help sustain some of the work, and Tennessee American Water recently, you may have seen the announcement, is committing think it was $25,000 to help us continue some of this work. So, next slide. The family that was a blank slide. Hold on. Did you download this? Because I think you may not have the. Is this like the live presentation? You may
Yes.
have grabbed it before that.
Yeah, so I think this is what we had, but is this what we,
Yeah, this was what was inputted,
okay,
on the shared presentation with her.
okay.
Yeah, so it's updated, but I will, I could just talk through it if you don't have it, but it is on your actual document. So when we wrote the grant, we said, okay, by 2025, now this is ambitious, you're talking about right after COVID, right, 2021, then here comes the ARPA funding. We said, we're gonna help lift 75 to 100 families out of poverty. Boy, did we know that it would be as hard as it has been to be able to do this, even with the magnitude of resources that we have, because it's bigger than just sitting someone in a class, say, hey, get this credential, all right, you're great, go on. There's a lot that's involved with ensuring that people are lifted out of poverty. So we said that's what we would do, and we would do that by providing low-skilled, low-wage, or unemployed persons a holistic support to improve their economic, social, and mental well-being, which could help improve their overall quality of life. We had 3 broad goals written in the grant, and so we said we wanted to ensure goal 1, that low-wage or low-skilled workers that were non-credentialed completed an industry-recognized credential. We chose 3 pathways based on our State of Black Chattanooga report, where we saw that there was a gap in Black workers entering those industries. And so the areas that we chose, and again, this isn't your end point, this is your starting point to get started in a career that can help you earn, some people say living wage, sustaining wage, whatever you want to call it, but to put them on above the median income, right? Or at or above the median income. So we chose IT, and I have a little narrative about how that went. And then we chose healthcare pathway, and phlebotomy was an easy one because they could go into the lab, and we have a phenomenal teacher in that program as well. And then construction was our final one. So basic construction in part 2 of this that we will continue is working directly with the Building Trades Union in carpentry to help some of our recent graduates that just finished 2 weeks ago, land some of those apprenticeship jobs in employment. So a credential was key, right? And so then we also said we wanted to provide financial empowerment programming, because a lot of these programs will give you a stipend, but they don't tell you how to utilize that in addition to the current resources that you may have. And so we said, we're gonna provide 20 hours of financial literacy, and it is a requirement. When we say earn while you learn, our program leaders who will be coming up here shortly or next, they really held these participants accountable. So we don't do handouts at the Urban League, and that's what makes the work so much harder. It's easy to, have a food drive and give out food, or to give people a computer. We've done all those things in the past. So when I say that we looked at how we did workforce a lot differently, we went deep instead of just going so wide. And you'll see some of the results of that. And we're only, I would say, 2 years in, although it was it was 22, which 22 was really a planning year and actually hiring some people to help run the program, because the program is only as good as the people who lead it to implement it. And so 2022, we didn't spend as much as I had hoped, because we didn't get the program fully off the ground. We got one, which I think was the IT, and then we were able to expand on that. So having more time probably would have been perfect, but it did feel very rushed to deliver at the level of quality that I expect for this type of programming. But I think we're on the right track, and you'll see some of those metrics. So goal 3 was to provide access to a living wage job. And so those were the 3 broad goals, and we had metrics tied to those as well, and reported on those quarterly through the city. Next slide. All right.
You got it?
So now, I think you're on the slide with our team. I'm going to turn it over to and introduce Anthony Wiley, who originally started with us as specifically working on the Family Prosperity Program. And let me caveat this. So when we started this, we said Family Prosperity Initiative, and it was just gonna be kind of this credential program where they get the laptops. And then once we got in, we said, you know what? Level Up Academy is gonna be a signature component of Family Prosperity, but Family Prosperity is gonna be inclusive of everything we do in workforce. So it kind of changed a little bit after we started hiring people and I started realizing we could do more. But then the case management got pretty intense. So some of the data you will see, although we served, Anthony has that number overall, how many we served through specifically this grant, not all of our other grants. Level Up Academy is what we're gonna really point to as far as the outcomes based on the metrics that we had in the grant. So Anthony Wiley has since transitioned to lead a new initiative which rounds out our holistic approach to workforce and integrated services, where they start with youth, mid-career professionals, and now seniors. So he is leading our senior worker program, which was not a part of this grant, but CSEP, we took that program over. And then Angela Fraley, who started out just as our phlebotomy teacher, who's had over 20 years of experience teaching phlebotomy and working in that field. And we ended up hiring her because she was so great, just like Anthony was, with the participants and holding them accountable and holding their hands throughout the process. And then Jesus Torres came alongside. He originally started out in organizational development, helping with various things around the urban league, and then we needed him to really help with some of that case management and then the interviews that were pretty extensive in the process, which Anthony talked about. So Anthony, I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
So let me interrupt right here, just one, we probably need to wrap this up in about 5 minutes. We do have some other things that we need to take care of. We good? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Candy. I will not be before you long, I promise. As Candy said, the Family Prosperity Initiative was very comprehensive, robust, and it had a lot of moving pieces, so we did come up with the Level Up Academy to kind of synthesize and make it more concise and understandable to participants. It is the signature program of our initiative, and to address many of the barriers and close some of the gaps, we focused on 3 components, which was career readiness, the IT, phlebotomy, and construction program, as well as personal and professional development. What we found was that it's easy to lead someone to a hard skill, but for some of the participants, that hard skill wasn't the challenge, it was mindset. So we wanted to find a way to take them from a surviving mindset and set them on a path of striving so that ultimately they can end up in a thriving, as well as for their family and their community. And then we also focused on economic assets. We knew that childcare would be a barrier, and then some of them were working full-time, part-time jobs. So we wanted to provide a direct participant assistance, which was made possible through the ARPA grant. We gave them a substantial amount of money to kind of support some of those necessary aspects of their life, whether it was food or paying their bills, as well as providing financial literacy so they knew what to do with the money when they received it. So the participant journey, it was really straightforward. They expressed their interests by filling out an online registration form. Then after that, we sent them a link to complete a skills and strengths assessment. And then those who completed that, we invited them in for an interview. They chose their pathway. We put them through the mandatory life coaching, mental health supports, which was integrated into the program. After our first cohort, we found that a significant amount of participants was dealing with trauma, so that impacted the way that they showed up. And then once we finished the personal and professional development, which consisted of all of the previous explained program components, we connected them to our hiring events. Next slide, please. Here we did have a video for participants to kind of explain some of their experience and what they liked about the program. However, because time is limited, we'll make sure that you get those files and the rest of the presentation so that you can see the demographics of those that we served. I think Candy is.
I was gonna say, if we could end with the video, I have the city's presentation up, if you can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
You can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Anthony, why don't you do this last slide and we'll make sure they have this whole presentation. They may have downloaded it before we put all of that in there, but you'll do that last slide, we'll play the video.
Okay. It's a blank screen. I think it's loading now.
Okay, I can see it on my phone.
Can we minimize it? My memory isn't as good as it used to be.
let's see here.
Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you.
Candy, we may not have the video.
That's okay. We'll kick it old school.
No, what I was saying is, can you see my screen that I'm sharing? It wasn't a video that I was sharing.
Oh, we do see the slides that you shared, yes.
Yeah, so that's all I was saying. Just go over that last slide.
Last slide. So because of ARPA funds, we were able to distribute $349,657.39 to our participants. We had over 190 community members apply for the program. 59 interviews were conducted, and that's because some of them will start the process but were not completed. Of those 59, we had 59 complete the full process to be enrolled in the program. 51 participants were selected. We had an 88% certification completion rate, 108 hours of financial literacy instruction, 112 full hours of life coaching provided to participants. And I do want to emphasize that the 108 and 112 also consisted of group sessions and individualized sessions that our participants had access to. 140 hours of childcare was provided. Mental health sessions provided was 43. And then we distributed 51 computers, and then we also had a 94% program completion rate. So again, thank you so much for your contribution to this meaningful work, empowering communities and changing lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Did you want
Candy, thank you for your presentation. It's very informative, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll, Jermaine, I guess, send the video link. Actually, it's in your presentation. If you re-download it, you'll have it for that.
Okay.
So let us know if you have any questions. We appreciate the opportunity to share.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Candy.
Bye-bye.
All right, Chief.
That's all we have.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, council, if you'll look in your folders, today at noon was the deadline for applicants to apply for the District 6 seat. You have 3 applications in your folder, so if you'll spend this next week going through those applications. Next week, we will open up our meeting by having our interviews, and I say interviews, basically, we open it up, let each participant address the council, tell us whatever they want to know. How many minutes would y'all like for that to be?
Well, what, there are 3
For
candidates for the.
the interview process, for them to present to council.
3 minutes?
5 minutes?
5 minutes?
There are 3 candidates, correct?
There's 3 candidates.
I think 5 minutes would work.
5 minutes per,
Everybody good with 5?
5 per candidate.
We'll do 5 minutes for each.
Just 3 minutes?
I'm assuming, I guess, then, if we have follow-up questions, we'll do that after their 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
Then,
So, Mr. Chair, 5 minutes not mandatory, they have up to 5
they
minutes.
have up to 5, yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank
They
you.
won't be penalized.
Thank you.
For less.
Just do a little clarity on that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Bonuses
and
for
then-
less.
I'm sorry?
Bonuses for less.
Yeah. Bonus points.
I got 2 cover letters.
Yeah, so you already got a bonus,
She's
didn't
already
you?
got the bonus on it.
And then, after the interviews and any follow-up questions from this council, we will open the floor for nominations. And how that'll work, I'll take nominations from the floor. Once I do not hear any other nominations, we'll close nominations. And then, if there are more than one nomination, we will go to each individual council person for their vote on which, person. So, obviously, if there's three nominations, if no one gets, a majority, which would be 5, if no one gets a majority of 5 on the first round, what we'll do is take the top 2 vote receivers and then go from there till we have one that has a majority. Any questions on that process? Good?
Good.
Okay. On our board appointments, we have field, we call it fuel takeoff 7 and 8. We've got HEB and passenger vehicle for hire taken care of. So we do need one for the old Sports Authority. Councilwoman Noel?
Yes, I have, let me tell you, I have been putting it out there, just
Okay, I understand. I
nothing
believe
yet. I do, I mean,
And now, Animal Control Board, districts 4, 5, 7. 4, 5, and 7.
Yeah.
We need
I think that 7 would be covered up with that.
who's that, the sports
I
old
would think 7
authority?
should cover it up. We've got a ton of people that want that.
Oh.
You know, cause 7 was who brought,
And then if you look on down, there are some board members that are serving expired times. If you would like to talk to them about,
Oh, yeah.
being reappointed or if they need a replacement. I don't even, what is CAC 9? I don't know what that is.
that's the Community Advisory Council.
District,
District 9.
okay, District 9, and then, again, Old Sports Authority, we've got a couple, 2, 5, and 9 that are currently serving expired terms. Okay, anything else that we need to cover during strategic planning? If not, we'll adjourn and we'll see you at 3:30. All right,
Hot second.
That ain't for a few minutes.
all right, second.
Let's go there. The man